So now we will move on to a very, very inspiring personality. So far, it was on the future of education. Now we are moving to the future of entrepreneurship, the future of life, and no more, because no, I can't look at Mr. Vijay Kapoor as a man who will speak about entrepreneurship, because even though he's a entrepreneur, he's a, I would say, his journey itself is an inspiring journey for all of us to understand. More than that, he's one man who always talks about the power of love and the power of humanity. And we were fortunate to have a session in our youth summits, a few occasions earlier last year, and his talk mesmerized the entire set of students. So we are very happy to have you here, sir, on this occasion. We are going to have, we are having close to 3,400 teachers from across India. And to most of you in South will definitely know about Mr. Vijay Kapoor, but people are from North. Let me just tell you about 2 lines about him. He's a first generation entrepreneur, Mr. Vijay Kapoor, who founded one of the leading clothing brand called Derby. I'm sure if you have been wearing jeans, you'll always had Derby jeans in your shelf. And he started that in his age of 23. I think when we talk about future of entrepreneurship, none other than Mr. Vijay can handle that. And he's graduated from our Loyola College in Chennai, and he's pursuing his organization transformation program with Stanford Seed India in 2019, starting 2019. I think there are a lot more merits on Mr. Vijay Kapoor. I don't want to go further because he's a speaker, he's an author, he's a motivator. He's everything. So let me directly open it up to Mr. Vijay Kapoor. So welcome you, sir, on behalf of the entire community and ICT Academy.
Let me start the morning by telling a very namaste to everybody. Now, namaste comes from my Indian tradition where we say, I in spirit and you in spirit are one and the same, and I bow down to the spiritual connectedness between us. And today, in terms of your coronavirus, it can also mean saying that my virus and bacteria with me, your virus and bacteria with you. So let's keep our social distancing and say namaste to one another. So again, namaste to each one of you. Now, having spoken about namaste, I also want to tell you, loving you so much. Love you all. Now, you might be wondering, what is an entrepreneur speaking about love? What is love got to do with entrepreneurship? This may be a question that everyone is asking. But love is the only thing that makes life worth living. Love is love when you feel one with another. We live in a world today where animals need us, our environment, trees need us, fellow human beings need us. We live in a world where we are all interdependent, and that is where love and being an entrepreneur is all about. What's an entrepreneur? Let's define an entrepreneur. Entrepreneur is one who takes resources from areas of lower productivity and deploys them in areas of higher productivity. That's what an entrepreneur's job is there. And wherever there is a problem in the world, an entrepreneur steps in to solve that problem. I know as entrepreneurs, as as teachers, as faculty members, you create us. I have a great admiration. I admire teachers. I respect, because I'm a making of my teacher. I'm a making of my teacher. Whatever I am today is because of what my teacher has taught me, my guru has taught me. I'm a making of a teacher. Now, having said that, we were speaking about entrepreneurship. So entrepreneurship is all about understanding a problem and finding a solving the problem. That's what it is. But we live in an environment, I think being an entrepreneur, the way we've been living our life, not only entrepreneur, but as consumers, the way we've been living our life, we've been taking things very easy. We have not actually bothered about what is the type of environmental impact it has on the world. The way we consume, there's been overconsumption, the way we live our life, the way we've been, living our life has not been very conducive. I think we are one generation which has been very, very greedy and self-centered. We are not thinking about what are we going to leave behind for the generations to come. We are in such a race to consume, such a race to make money, such a race to solve problems. We are forgetting the fundamentals of existence. We need to coexist. We need to live in an ecological balance where everybody is able to live in harmony. Live and let live is what we need to believe in. Now, how do we actually do this? Now, in this whole concept of overconsumption, we've forgotten the environment, and we may speak about environment change, we may speak about climate change, but probably whatever we're facing today, this whole situation of coronavirus is probably one way of the environment and nature coming back and giving us one tight slap and telling us, hey, it's time for you to change. Because we only have two choices. Only way a man transforms, or only way we change, is either we can change in the comfort of our life. We can transform ourselves when we are comfortable, knowing that there is a better way to live life. Or God, nature, Prakriti, whatever you can say, has its own way of transforming us by giving us one tight slap. But the price that we need to pay for it is very heavy. What we are experiencing right now out there during coronavirus time is probably one tight slap that we have received. And we need to ask ourselves this question right now. Slow down, step back and ask ourselves this question. Why is this happening? What does it mean? How are we going to set it right? Do we understand the consequences of our actions? Are we willing to take responsibility for it? And love is love only when you take responsibility. It's not about just feeling for yourself. Living a life where we're only looking at me, mine, myself. How do I take care of myself? How do I take care of my immediate family? How do I take care? That is a sub-animal existence. Even an animal lives a life that it can feed a few human beings. A cow, a bull works in the farm to feed the farmer's family. A parrot sitting and doing, the parrot reading the cards, feeds a family. A goat, by sacrificing its life for being a meat, feeds a few family. We as human beings cannot live a sub-animal existence where we are all the time only thinking about me, myself, my bank balance, my children, my parents, my siblings. I think it's time we take a break. I think it's time we look beyond that and see how do we live our life. It's not just about entrepreneurship where we are, creating a world where we are taking too much. There is no ecological balance. We're taking too much from nature and not giving back. But I'm also asking ourselves as consumers, how are we consuming? What are we doing? Are we over-consuming? Are we keeping a balance? Is my question. This is just a question that I'm asking myself, and this is a question I'm putting to you also. This is what I want to tell you. Now, I know all of us love stories. So let me start today's session with a story. A long time back, the blacks were treated as slaves by the whites. Richard was a 10-year-old Negro boy, and Richard's parents were slaves. All his growing life, Richard had seen what the whites did, the blacks were not allowed to do. So Richard grew up with this belief, what the white can, the blacks cannot. One day, when Richard was taking a walk along the park, he noticed a gas balloon vendor release a cluster of balloons into the air. The balloons were red in color, blue in color, and white in color. Looking at all the balloons go up, Richard ran up to the gas balloon vendor and asked the gas balloon vendor, Uncle, you released a cluster of balloons into the air. They all went up. There was a white color balloon also went up. Uncle, if you release a black color balloon, will that balloon go up? This was only understandable coming from Richard, because what had Richard seen all his life? Richard had seen what the whites did, the blacks were not allowed to do. So Richard grew up with this belief, what the whites can, the blacks cannot. Understanding this, the gas balloon vendor gently put his arms around Richard's shoulder and told him, I want you to know, my son, it's not the outside of the balloon that takes to the top, but it is the inside of the balloon that takes to the top. And all balloons are made of the same inside stuff. It does not matter if the balloon is big or small, whether the balloon is oval, round, the shape of the balloon doesn't matter, because what really takes the balloon on top is the inside, and all balloons are made of the same inside stuff. That day Richard realized both the whites and the blacks are made of the same inside stuff. What the whites can, the blacks cannot. Blacks can also. The God who created the white is the same God who created the black. That day Richard told himself and understood, though born a black, though born a slave, he need not live like a slave all his life. And that was a turning point in Richard's life. The God who created Mahatma Gandhi, Mother Teresa, Abdul Kalam, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, the same God who created you and me. If they all could hit the top, even we can hit the top. This is what I want to tell you. It's not that you cannot buy two pieces of technology. Two of you buy the same Apple phone. One knows how to use the apps, how to use the technology, and is able to get the best out of the technology. Another is only using it to make and receive calls. He doesn't know how to use the technology. It's not that there's anything different between the two phones, but one knows how to use it and is able to get the best out of it, and the other one doesn't know. So he's not able to get the best out of it. I'm asking, there's nothing called as lack of potential. There's either sleeping potential or awakened potential. How are we using ourselves? What is our self-belief? Personally speaking, what the gas balloon did to Richard, my guru, my teacher Mahatria, the founder of Infinitheism, one day looked into my eyes and told me, it's not the outside of the balloon that takes to the top, Vijay. I want you to know, it is the inside of the balloon that takes to the top. And all balloons are made of the same inside stuff. And that was the turning point in my life. My teacher, my guru Mahatria, transformed me with that one little story. From then onwards, the way I've looked at the world has never been the same. And the way the world has looked at me has never been the same. I want today's session to be your turning point. I'm asking you these questions. How long are we going to keep on judging ourselves by the way we look? When we stand in front of the mirror, I don't know how many of us are able to stand and admire ourselves. All the time we are saying, no, I put on too much of weight. I don't think so. I look very pretty. I don't think so. I look smart. I think I'm losing all my hair. I think I've got glasses. I'm not looking good. Look at the wrinkles in my skin. We're all the time criticizing. We're all the time feeling bad about ourselves. We are not able to, we are not able to live a life where we are able to look at ourselves and love ourselves. I'm asking, how long are we going to do this? How long are we going to keep on criticizing ourselves? Because today, we're speaking about entrepreneurship. We're speaking about future of entrepreneurship. I'm asking ourselves, if you're not even able to love ourselves, if you're not even able to believe that the Creator created everybody equal, if one is able to, do something legendary, everybody can do it. What is possible for one is possible for everyone. And the future of entrepreneurship is all about not being just successful. Yes, as teachers, as role models, you're going to teach the students out there to go up and take up to entrepreneurship and get very successful. Then how do we measure success in today's world? We measure success in today's world purely on the basis of how much money we earn, and that is the only measure of success. Unfortunately, we don't have too many, parameters to judge success. But for me, success is not just about being successful in one role of your life. You cannot be a one-role wonder. Success can be success only when you're a holistic success. So the future of entrepreneurship is one, to do, to work, to create enterprises that have heart. Because today we are speaking about AI, we are speaking about machine learning, we are speaking all about machine technology, and we're losing the heart within us. We're losing the human connect. So can we actually create something that is human? Because these are property, the human properties are slowly depleting from people. And being a successful, teaching people, you need to go there, you need to work hard, you need to earn a lot of money. What money can do, money only can do. Money is very, very important. If you have a good product or service, you have a moral responsibility to sell more. If you are a good human being, you have to be super rich. I will not take that away. But just being successful as a one-role wonder, just in one role of your life is not going to take you unless you become a holistic success. What do I mean by holistic success? You can be considered success only when you are successful in all the dimensions of life. Healthy, wealthy, loving, blissful, and spiritual. Let me repeat you. For every one dimension of life, there is 20 points. Supposing the total tally is 100. So give 20 points to every dimension of your life. Healthy. How healthy are you? The body is designed in such a way that the body cannot take care of itself. If your body had a voice, the body will beg you and plead you. Hey, master of the body, I can take you wherever you want to. I am the only vehicle you'll have in your life. But I cannot take care of myself. If you give me 1 hour a day, I can take care of you for the rest of 23 hours in the day. That is what your body will feed you. How healthy are you? Are you investing time to take care of your health? Or are you going to become a burden? Are you going to become a nuisance value to your family? Because all the time we are so busy earning that we forget that we need to take care of ourselves. We are so busy taking care of others, we don't have time to take care of ourselves. What is the use? You're so stressed about, taking care of your children. You're so stressed about, taking care of your students. You're so stressed about ensuring that people are doing very well. And all those things that you get stressed. End of the day, the impact that it has on you at the age of 35, 40, 45, you already have BP, you have sugar, you have diabetes, you have heart problem. And the last meal of the day before you go to sleep is a fistful of, colorful medicine tablets that you finally eat and you go to sleep. What is the use of such success when your health is not there? All that you dream, all that you aspire, that you put in the effort to ensure your children do well, they do well. You're so stressed, you're getting them educated, you're pushing them for tuition, you're doing everything. You want them to become an IAS, you want them to become a doctor, you want them to become an engineer, you want them to go and achieve great things in life. Finally, when they are achieving it and they're out there, but you do not have the health to share the prosperity, you don't have that health to share the success because you don't have the energy at that point of time. Your health is depleted so much that you are not able to participate in that happiness. What use is the success when it's a hollow success wherein you're not able to take care of yourself? So I'm pleading to each one of you, take care of your health, invest in yourself. Believe me, this is the only vehicle you're going to have for the rest of your life. Take care of yourself. Don't leave it to chance. Wealth is very, very important because what money can, but nothing else can. Money in the hands of a good human being will create a new world. Imagine money in the hands of entrepreneurs. We have seen so many entrepreneurs donate billions of dollars, millions of dollars to help during this crisis time. That's because they have money. And how do they get money? Is because they got it through entrepreneurship. They have created business models that not only uplift people through giving them, employment, but they also ensure the money that they have, they're also able to share it with other people. Money can do very little through you, but it can do great things through you. I've always believed when someone comes and, I've always believed that I will never promote beggary. I will never give anything to charity. I know you may be very surprised with this. I don't believe in charity at all because charity keeps a poor man poor. It's only through employment and education that you can lift the poor out of poverty. If you give a person money today, he will again need it tomorrow because he's dependent on you. But if you teach a person and if you're able to give an employment, he is able to take care of himself, restore dignity in people. And that is the job of entrepreneurship. Wealthy. 20 marks for being wealthy. 20 marks for being healthy. 20 marks for being wealthy. Healthy, wealthy is in the physical well-being of a person. Loving and blissful. How loving are you? What is your love quotient? How are you able to express yourself? Are you able to have a beautiful and a harmonious family life? You may ask me, how do I be loving? It's very simple. Get into any relationship looking at what you can give and not what you can get. Always be a giver. Live as a king. Giving always makes you a king, makes you a queen. And receiving makes you a beggar. Always have your hand on top. Live to give. Get into any relationship. I've heard so many, husbands and wives say, I've done so much for my spouse. My spouse doesn't understand me. If you love someone, there is no enough. There is no enough in any relationship. You cannot measure what you get in terms of what you give. Always be a giver in any relationship. Get into any relationship looking at what you can give and not what you can get. And most healthy, wealthy, loving. 20 points for loving. What is your love quotient? Blissful. Happiness. How happy are you? A man who is not happy with his work or profession is not going to be happy in life. Are you happy doing what you do? And happiness is very, very important. We all the time believe that happiness should come from big things in life. Happiness in the small things in life. Can we be happy simply licking an ice cream? Can we just bring happiness? Because you achieve something big, you cannot be happy. Happiness is not a destination, but happiness is the journey. You bring happiness into whatever you do. How can you live a happy life? And spiritual, 20 marks for that. All our disappointments in life is because we no more have appointment with Him. We are no more spiritually connected. We cannot afford to be a Sunday morning Christian or a Friday afternoon Muslim or once a week Hindu. We cannot be a part-time devotee to a full-time God. We need to have the spiritual connect. We need to feel the connect within. And only when you have the connect within will that existential energy pour itself into us for us to achieve greater things in life. So very important. I told you, what is your belief system? What do you believe in? Believe that all of us are made for greatness and we can achieve that only when we believe we can do it. Because I don't care. It does not matter whether your parents believe in you or not. It does not matter whether your spouse, your children believe in you or not. It does not matter whether your colleagues, the people at work believe in you or not. What really matters is YGP. You got to believe in yourself. The bumblebee is an insect which has disproportionately small wings as compared to its large body. The scientists from aerodynamics have declared the bumblebee cannot fly for this very reason. Why? Because it's got very small wings as compared to the large body. Luckily, the bumblebee does not understand science, neither the scientist, so it keeps on flying. If we decide to be the bumblebee, if we decide that we are going to believe in ourselves and not what the society has told us you can do, you cannot do. If you believe in yourself, tell me what is not possible for you to achieve. Okay, I've been speaking so long, so I just want to have a small little quiz. But this quiz, the answer to this, please hold it in your mind. I'm going to ask you a question and you hold this answer in your mind, then I will tell you the answer. What's common between George Washington, Winston Churchill, Walt Disney, Alexander Graham Bell, Thomas Alva Edison? What's common among all these people? Think for a moment. Hold the answer in your mind. I'll tell you the answer. Yes, there are a lot of things that are common, but one thing which many people know is they all had learning disabilities. They were not the brightest of students in their schools and college. In fact, they were outstanding students. What I mean by outstanding students? Because they were so dumb. The teachers used to make them stand outside the class. They were not the brightest of students in the schools and colleges. Their parents, their teachers, their friends, no one believed that they had a future at all. Yet, they all went on to become legends. How? They believed in the YGB mantra. They believed in themselves. Another question. Hold the answer in your mind. What's common between Charles Dickens, Alexander the Great, Napoleon Bonaparte, W.H. Wells? What's common between all these people? I'm giving you a few seconds to think. I know there are a lot of answers, but one very little known answer is they all suffered from a condition called as epilepsy. In layman's language, fits. They all had this fit. Yet they all went on to create history. How did they do it? They all believed in the YGB mantra. They believed in themselves. Being blind did not stop Stevie Wonder from going and winning the Grammy. In spite of poor eyesight, Abhinav Bindra went on to win the Olympic gold for India. Michael Phelps, who was diagnosed with attention deficit hyperactivity syndrome when he was just in his 5th grade, created history in Olympics. How? Just think how. How did all these people do it? John Milton wrote his greatest epic ever called as Paradise Lost after he became blind. Beethoven, one of the greatest symphony composers that the world has ever seen, continued to compose music even after he became deaf. Helen Keller, all of us have heard about her, we admire her. She was blind, deaf and mute. Yet during her lifetime, She wrote nearing 12 books, traveled around the world, and met 12 USA presidents. How? How did they all do it? Dhirubhai Ambani started with a capital of 15,000 rupees and Narayana Murthy with a capital of 10,000 rupees. Yet today, your Reliance and Infosys, a world-renowned organization. What we can learn from the lives of all these great movers, world movers, is that they all believed in one simple thing. They believed in themselves. I am asking you, what is your self-belief? What do you believe in? What are the thoughts? What are your belief system? You're looking at me. My name is Vijay. I'm an entrepreneur. Yes, today I'm very successful. But I come from a middle-class family. My father was a sports journalist earning 1,500 rupees working with Indian Express, Bangalore. If I stand up, you'll realize I'm not too tall. I'm 5 feet 5 inches. All my growing years, I had this inferiority complex because all the kids used to call me Lilliput. In Tamil, they used to call me Kula, shorty. So I grew up with this inferiority complex that I'm very short, I'm not good looking, I'm not capable of anything at all. And in our class, when we had to get into the classroom, we were always allowed in a queue system. When I'd come into the classroom, I'll run inside and try to occupy the back benches, but the class teacher will come and pull me and make me sit in the front bench. Because if I sit in the back bench, I will not be able to see the blackboard. When I sit in the front bench out there, it was not a very comfortable place to be sitting because I was not good in studies. In a class of 60, my rank was 35. I was just passed. After me, all the students were failed. And the mark sheet of all the students used to be put up on the notice board. So sitting in the front bench was not a very good place to be in, because I used to sit with all the brilliant students out there, and all of them will be discussing among themselves what they want to. And occasionally they'll ask me, Vijay, what do you want to become? And I'll ask them, what do you want to become? Each one will tell me, I want to become a doctor, I want to become an engineer, I'm going to do this. And they'll ask me, Vijay, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And I didn't know what to tell them because my marks did not show a possibility of me having a future. With just 35 marks as pass mark and just scraping through and having so low self-esteem, I didn't know what to tell them. And just to escape the question, I'll tell them, I want to become an entrepreneur. I want to become a businessman. And the truth is, nobody in my family has ever been into business. We are a middle-class family having 5 children. And even my school fee was subsidized by the church. That is why I went to an English convent, because the church paid for my school fee. I did not know what to tell them, but I did not understand one simple truth of life. What you think is what you become. What are the thoughts you hold about yourself? That is the type of life you'll ultimately reap. As you sow, so you reap. So what are the thoughts you're holding yourself? When you hold on to a thought, and this is something that I kept repeating all through my school, telling everybody, I want to become a businessman, I want to become a businessman, I want to become a businessman. And eventually, I went on to become a businessman. A thought held long enough makes it powerful. The mind of the man is a man. Change the mind, change the man. Create a powerful thought and you'll have a powerful man. So what are the thoughts you're holding about yourself is my question to you. The belief that I had all through my growing years, in spite of my education not showing me that I had any scope of growth. But when I was tested, yes, I was not good in studies, but I eventually finished my college and I got into my first job and I was in a sales job. When I went in the sales job and I was tested on the sales field, I realized, yes, I may be stupid, I may not be very good in studies, but even I have talent. I could sell. I was very good in communication. When all my colleagues were struggling to do 30%, 40% sale, I was able to do 150, 200% sale month after month. And that is when I realized even I have talent. And with that talent, the self-confidence came. With that self-confidence coming, I was able to go and achieve what I always wanted to do of creating a clothing brand. I started off in 1994 at the age of 23 with a 2-machine tailoring unit. I didn't know anything about tailoring, but just got into it. But when you're passionate about something, you will definitely succeed. So today is not about me, but it's about future of entrepreneurship. I want to tell each one of you out there, the future of entrepreneurship is all about love. It's all about finding a solution to the world and ensuring there's an ecological balance that's maintained we need to be sustainable. Today, Darby is grown into a national brand. We have close to about 60 stores. And the design philosophy that we believe in is usability, wearability, and sustainability. Usability. How do our customers use the product? How should the product features be? Wearability. How do they wear the product? What are the type of climatic conditions they wear in? How comfortable should the fabric be? And most important, sustainability. How sustainable is the manufacturing process? Can we ensure we use renewable energy? Can we ensure the cotton or the linen that we use comes from fair trade? Can we ensure there is no child labor? Can we ensure there is gender equality? Can we ensure there is equal pay? So sustainability is about maintaining the ecological balance, and we always believe less is more. Can we do it? Can we do it? So I'm asking each one of you, as I'm asking myself this question, what is the future of entrepreneurship? Future of entrepreneurship is only going to be when you're able to find a solution for the world that is sustainable. Can we look at sustainability in the way we operate, in the way we develop a business model? Can we have sustainability in the way we live our life? Can we love everything, not just love ourselves, but love one another? And that when we love one another, we also need to love the environment, we need to love animals, and also ensure we create an ecosystem that is sustainable for everybody. Secondly, and most importantly, can we ensure that we create success, not just being one role wonder, but being a holistic wonder, where we give equal importance to every sphere of our life, be it healthy, wealthy, loving, blissful, and spiritual. Can we maintain a balance and give? I'm asking each one of you, once the session is over, please take a paper and pen and put 20 marks for each of this and rank yourself in every one of you. How healthy are you? How wealthy are you? How loving you are? How happy you are? And how spiritually connected you are? And then you will know where is the happiness leak having in your life. Do this exercise and you will know what is the course correction that you need to do in your life. And this is the only thing that I tell to every youngster I meet out there. Yes, you need to be successful. You need to be the best in whatever you do. You need to be super wealthy. You need to be super successful. But ensure this doesn't come at the cost of other things in life. You need to be a holistic wonder, because today we need role models. We need role models. How long are we going to only speak about Mahatma Gandhi, Mother Teresa? How long are we only going to speak about Dhirubhai Ambani and Narayana Murthy? We need more role models coming in from the younger generation, and the younger generation have to show us, yes, we can be a holistic success, and we can create business model that not only we have a responsibility of leaving this place a little more beautiful than what we found it, because birth was not in control. Where you're born, to which family condition, which geography you're born is not in your control. Neither will death be in your control. You don't know. We all are born with a death certificate. But this journey between life and death is something that you co-create. You co-design this along with the creator. So make your life count. Ensure that you draw a line to your past. This is a new world that we're facing out there. Draw a line to the past. It does not matter how you lived your life till now. Draw a line to your past and tell yourself, today is the first day to the rest of my life. I will bounce back. The harder you press the spring and you release it, the faster it bounces back. So if your life has been pressed with failures, if your life has been pressed with failed opportunities, I want you to take this time to ensure you're able to bounce back, create new ideas, create new models, and upgrade yourself for the future world that is yet to be. So loving you all, have a beautiful life. God bless you with abundance. I'm here only out of love, because I believe love is the only thing that matters. So God bless you.